everyone. Today we are having the very nice topic with a nice and intelligent attorney from Florida, Ms. Tania. And we are going to discuss about the why is legal literacy becoming a must-have skill for professionals of all fields. So because of the getting many queries by different professionals of different fields, I thought why not to just have a discussion over such matter that can benefit public at large. So that we have just designed a very specific kind of course, and this that is leading to this discussion. So we are starting with the simple question, and the very first question, that is, what exactly does legal literacy mean for working professionals?
So thank you first for having me, and I'm very honored to be discussing these topics. The first question is, what does legal literacy mean for professionals? And I want to make sure that everybody understands you don't have to understand legalese. You don't have to be a lawyer. That's why we go to school. That's why we have such trainings. We have to pass the bar exam. But legal literacy is basically having a cursory understanding of what it is that you're signing, if it's a contract, having a cursory understanding of what are the different areas and different legal professionals as well, because not every attorney does everything. Some attorneys only practice in criminal law. Some attorneys only practice in family law, like divorces, prenuptial agreements, things of that nature. Some only practice in business, right? And so having legal literacy means knowing what are the areas that you need an attorney in and which attorney do you need to go to speak with. Also, it means you should have somewhat of an idea of what are the things that you're going to need to speak to them about, right? What are the things that you need help with? And are they legal or not legal, right? So it's very broad, and it's just a general understanding of who you need to talk to, and why you need them.
Right. That point is very nice, that to knowing some laws, it doesn't mean that you need to be a lawyer. It's just something like that, to have a simple knowledge about the things, that how you can do it and from where you can get it done. So these 2 points definitely will help having legal literacy. Otherwise, it is very difficult even to know the things, what are exactly, even someone want to set up a startup. So it is very difficult to know what are the legal kind of help they required, isn't it? So that point is very nice. So again, now we have the next question, that why should professionals care about laws if they aren't lawyers?
So one of the things I like to say is that ignorance of the law is not a defense, right? So professionals have to know the laws. They have to know what it is that they can and cannot do, especially when it comes to compliance issues, especially when it comes to licensing issues. Because if something happens and you get sued, or you have to go in front of a judge, saying that, well, I didn't know I had to do that, is not a defense. You're still liable, right? And so it's very important, especially for professionals, to know what are the laws that apply to them. What are their responsibilities? What are their duties? What kind of liabilities can they be open to? So, for example, if you take payments online, you have a duty to your customers to make sure that all of their payment information is protected. Those are called privacy laws. And if you do not protect them, and your computer gets hacked, or the back end gets hacked somehow, and other people, or the information gets leaked, there are so many different ways that the information can be disseminated, you are liable, because you are the one who's responsible for keepsaking, right? That information. The same thing goes with your employees. If their employees are subcontractors, it's not enough to say, well, I didn't know that's what the law said. The law doesn't care. You have to make sure that you abide by it. So with startups, a lot of people say, I didn't know I needed a license. But, especially in the US, you might need a federal license. You might need a state license. You might need a county license and a city license. And so you have to make sure that you understand that there are a lot of legal requirements and compliance requirements. And if you don't know them and you cannot find them online, find an attorney who can help you. When it comes to business, you find a business attorney. When it comes to making sure that your finances are intact and that your money goes to the people you want it to go to when you pass, you find an estate planning attorney, right? If you're looking to get married and you want a prenuptial agreement, you find a family law attorney. And I think with so much information online right now, it's easy to look up what kind of attorney do I need for this situation. And that's the cursory legal literacy that I think everybody needs to have, not just professional.
Right. Thank you. This is really nice answer, because the point you raised about the duty to care. So if you are taking any responsibility, just opening a startup or something like doing even an employee, you also need to understand what are the duties that you need to take care. Otherwise, you will be at something like risk. And of course, another point that you raised, not knowing law is not an excuse to escape. So you are responsible, whether you know it or not know. So better to know it. So of course, the third question that we have, that is, in what ways can legal knowledge enhance professional credibility and confidence?
Oh, so many different ways. First off, even when you have an attorney and you have them draft a contract for you or review a contract for you, make sure that you understand what the contract says, what the contract allows you to do, what your responsibilities are, what the other person's responsibilities are, and whether or not everything that you wanted to be in the contract is in the contract. A lot of times people will hire an attorney and they'll say, oh, we need this, this, and this in the contract. And things get lost in translation. And the attorney will draft a contract that might be a little more one-sided than was agreed. And when you don't know that, and you don't know what the contract says, and you present it to the other side, guess what? Now the other side is not going to trust you because it's not the contract that they were anticipating, right? So automatically you are creating a rift in a relationship that hasn't even started.
Right.
Right? So knowing that what you wanted is what has been delivered to you, is what you are delivering to the next person, is imperative. It also gives you the confidence when you understand and ask the attorney to explain to you the contract, because it gives you the confidence of knowing what's in there. You know that the agreement that you made orally is actually on paper, and that is what you're delivering to that person. Also, when you have people coming to you and saying, well, you can't do this, you can't do that, knowing the law gives you the confidence to say, yes, I can. Right?
Right.
And it gives you the confidence to keep moving forward, because everybody has an opinion, and some use their opinion as fact, which
Right.
may or may not be true. And so you can't really always rely on other people. And so you have to make sure that you understand things that are relevant to you, so you can move forward and you can explain your position in a much more clear way to the other people.
Right.
I don't find that people give you misinformation on purpose, or that they want to, that they have malicious intent or anything like that. People usually genuinely believe the misinformation, right? They're
Right.
trying to be helpful, but because they may not understand it fully, they're giving you the wrong information, which can harm you. So having the
Right.
knowledge yourself, being able to at least research, being able to find someone who can give you the proper knowledge, who can explain it properly, that's going to really help you flourish. It's going to help you know what you can and cannot do, and it's going to help you educate other people as well.
Right. Right. Because this answer made me remember something, and that is one of my clients. He was asking about a contract, and he shared basically and asked me about one of the points. And because of his intelligence, that he raised that question over that point and asked me. Otherwise, if he wouldn't have something like such kind of information, then that's supposed to be that point basically asking about his ownership. He was about to transact some of the services, but only that point, a single point, asking about, instead of the asking the right of that service, asking about the right of something like ownership. So simple mistake can just make something like a big kind of threat and damage. So always it is really beneficial to have some kind of knowledge and something that you can appreciate that to what you are doing. Otherwise, very difficult to understand what are the contracts, agreements, what are the points. So of course, this is really, again, nice point. So next question that we have, yeah.
If I may interrupt you, because you just brought up something that it could be a mistake, and that's
Right.
so true, because as attorneys, we try not to make mistakes. However,
Right.
we are human too, right?
Right.
And so
Right.
it happens sometimes. And
Yes.
if you understand the contract, you understand the legal premise, you understand the compliance issues, then it's much easier to spot those mistakes that might happen
Right.
every once in a while and
Right.
stop them before they get bigger.
Right. And another thing, that while doing such kind of transaction business, don't do it in haste, because that is, doing work in haste always just carry some sort of risk.
Yes.
So better to take time and just understand all the agreements and the things, every point, because even a single point can be very big kind of mistake if just ignored or maybe didn't take care. Yeah. So, okay, the next question that we have, that is, how does legal literacy support ethical decision making in business and service roles?
So can you repeat that, please?
How does legal literacy support ethical decision making in business and service roles?
Okay, so ethical decision making.
Yes.
Again, when you understand the liabilities, when you understand compliance issues, when you understand and have a cursory understanding even of your responsibilities and your rights, it's much easier to be able to make decisions based on ethical standards, because you already know what should be the outcome, right? You already know what are the things that need to be done, that need to be addressed, things of that nature. And so the more you understand, the better decisions that you can make. And the law is based on ethics, right? What's fair,
Right.
what's right. And so the more
Right.
you understand it, the more you're able to make better and more ethical decisions.
Right.
My
Right. Yeah. Because what I believe, knowing the something like law, it doesn't mean only to understand your rights, always to protect your rights, but also take care of others' rights. isn't it? So it is your duty to take care others' right as well at the same time. So of course, knowing the law means of you are not defending yourself, but also protecting others' right, respecting others' right. So this is another nice point, ethical decision making kind of things there where it helps. People need to understand that why they should also understand the law. Okay. So next question that we have, which specific laws are most important for professionals to understand in day-to-day life, such as contract law, labor law, IP law, something like that?
So yeah, for professionals, you definitely have to understand all of the compliance laws that apply to you, your industry, your business.
Right.
That is one of the major things that you have to understand because you can get in big trouble with those.
Right.
The other one is definitely contract law, because you have to understand which contracts are enforceable, which are not enforceable, what's a material breach versus a non-material breach, what's going to void your contract, right? All of these things come into play, and that's how you protect your business through contracts. You also have to understand privacy laws, and
Right.
that's basically part of the compliance laws. And as a business professional, there was something else that, employment laws, right?
Right.
Especially in your country, in your state, in your city, they can be different. And what
Right.
are your obligations as an employer? What are their obligations as an employee? What do you have to provide? What are they supposed to provide, right? What delineates the difference between an employee and a contractor, so you don't get in trouble with those compliance laws.
Right.
And I think those are the three major legal areas that every business owner and every professional needs to know about, at least, so that if they get into a situation, they know where to look for the answers.
Right, right. Well, of course, this is something like that. What I observed these days, uh, being a professional, of course, what are the laws that related to your specific profession? Means if you are a sports person, of course, there are certain laws related to sports. If you are a business person, so of course, there are certain laws that you compliance and all the things. Of course, that is there. And these days, medical laws, that means telemedicine, something like rising up. So that also raising many sort of issues. So of course, you need to understand all those things if you are into that. Apart from those laws, what I believe, there are certain laws that in very much beneficial for day-to-day life. Means when buying something, going shopping complex and buying some groceries or whatever it is, that is creating a contract. So contract, what I believe, the most common law that everyone should understand, isn't it? So that is something like another the tort law. I don't know whether in US what about it, but tort law is also there because you have the duty to take care of others. So your negligence may be something like threatening for yourself, isn't it? So if you are parking your car, it must be some parked somewhere where it should be. It's not you can park anywhere. So that is again, tort law is also something like an essential part that a common person should understand, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so that is the thing. And the next question that we have, can legal illiteracy actually harm your business or professional understanding?
Oh, most certainly. That, because ignorance of the law is not a defense. So what you don't know can certainly harm you. I have had more than a handful of situations of clients coming to me because they didn't understand and they're now in trouble and I have to try to get them out of it. One was a contract where the client did not understand what the venue was and what to do. So when there was an issue and they had to file a lawsuit, they couldn't do so easily. It was very complicated, and that's something that could have been avoided very easily with one term in the contract. one single sentence would have avoided all of that. Another client I had an attorney draft a contract. There was miscommunication between them. And when he gave the other person the contract, everything fell apart. Because it was not exactly what they had agreed to. And the attorney drafted it more one-sided, right? Because as attorneys, when you hire us, we have an obligation to protect you, not the other side. And so if there's not clear communication, if we don't understand each other 100%, there's a lot of room and risk of creating a rift, right? Of making the whole deal fall apart because you're cutting trust, right? Because it's not what you had expected. Other things are, hiring a contractor who turns out to actually be an employee under your state laws or federal laws or your country's laws. Well, just because you didn't know doesn't mean that you're not now liable for all of the penalties and the back pay and the taxes and everything else. And so there are a lot of different things that can happen that are less than pleasant just because you did not know and you did not have the proper legal literacy. And those are all very easily avoidable, right? What do they say? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Yes. So of course, this is the legal literacy. Nowadays, it is very difficult to just walk without knowing the law because everywhere is law and you are just somehow involved in some or other way in any sort of transaction, whether it is unilateral, bilateral, it doesn't matter. You are outside, the moment you are outside the home, you should understand the law because everywhere there is a law, whatever you are doing. So yes, this is something nice. The next question that we have, how does legal awareness empower better decision making and risk management?
So that kind of goes into what we just talked about. Everywhere you go, there are laws, right? And so forget professionals for a second, but legal literacy empowers you. Knowing the law empowers you to do the right thing and mitigate your risk. So one of the things we were talking about outside of professionals is parking, right? There are certain places you can park, other places you cannot. And if you don't know the law, you could potentially park somewhere where you can get a ticket and now you have to pay, or your vehicle can get towed and now you have to figure out how to go get it, pay the tolls, pay the fees and the ticket, right? And so when you know the laws, it definitely empowers you to manage your risk because when you know them, you can follow them. And therefore, you don't have a risk when you're following the law. When you don't know the laws, you are definitely risking a lot because how are you going to comply if you don't know? So legal literacy and risk management go hand in hand.
Actually, the thing is that law is something like that. It works like it armors people, isn't
Yes.
it? It armors because if you know the things, you can just take care of others' right. You protect yourself, and just do the things that the way it should be done.
Yes.
Yeah,
And so talking about others' rights and your rights, right? And it armors you because it's much harder for people to take advantage of you when you know your rights and you know the law. And you can mitigate your risk of liability when you take care of other people's rights and you make sure that everything is on the up and up. Let's say it's compliant with the law, so you're not going to get in trouble for doing something that takes away someone else's rights without intending to, or even with intending to.
Yes, as we have already discussed that not knowing the law, not an excuse to escape from the punishment or penalty.
Yes, exactly.
So that is there because life is so vulnerable in this digital world. anytime you can get something like hacked or whatever, anything is possible. So it is always something like, it is mandatory kind of thing that you should understand to some extent.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, the next question that we have, what are some real world examples where lack of legal literacy caused serious professional setbacks?
Well, so I've talked about a couple of them already.
Yes.
There are so many. I mean, there are so many. The easiest is probably the car. If you park it somewhere else, somewhere it's not supposed to, now, you know, it's towed. You have to pay a fee. You know, it causes damage. Another, like the one that I was talking about with the contract, it took a lot to save that relationship and that deal after having the one-sided contract that was not what they had agreed to, because the trust was gone, right? And so I had to step in and explain that it was the attorney, that, but at the same time, well, the person who hired that attorney should have known what the contract said before presenting it to begin with, right? So it's a duty to understand what you're doing. And when you don't, people don't trust you anymore. They don't trust your ability anymore, right? They don't trust what you say. So how are they going to do business with you? Let alone be friends, right? Or form those relationships. So it really, there are so many examples. I think we could be here, all day. So I'll suffice it for those other ones that I've already given, unless you have some other ones you want to share.
Yeah, more often just we see in our real life such kind of examples, of course. Okay, so we have almost discussed all the questions, but the last question that I would like to raise something like, from where to get such kind of knowledge, because these people have hardly something like an idea about the laws, that what are the rules that they should know, and from where they can get it, because they need something like certain kind of course, or they can just study themselves. What do you think on this?
Okay, so it is very difficult, I will admit, for someone who is not an attorney to get the legal knowledge that they really need on any given topic, because there are so many different areas of the law that even attorneys don't know everything, right? I am not a criminal law attorney. So if you come to me and ask me about criminal law, I have no idea what to tell you. I will refer you to a criminal law attorney. That's why from the beginning, we had talked about a cursory literacy, right? Where can I go to find out what type of attorney can help me? Where can I go to find out what type of issue do I have? And I think because of all of the information being online, it's also a little bit daunting, because anytime you look up something, you're going to get differing viewpoints. And so where do you start? The one thing that I always tell my clients, and I like to tell people, is find the bar association, find, like, every state in the United States has a bar that governs the lawyers in that state. And so if you're a Florida resident, you can call the Florida bar and say, hey, this is my situation. Do you have a recommendation for an attorney or an area, a legal area? And they will help you. I am sure other countries have these organizations that oversee the attorneys. And these organizations could be your first step to figuring out who do you need and what you need by calling them, by finding out what is that organization. Doing a Google search or an online search helps start the process But I would be very careful to believe everything I read online. There has been an instance where attorneys were actually reprimanded because they used the internet as something to give to the judge, and it was not true. Right. And so they were reprimanded because they submitted something that was not true, even though they thought it was true because of online. So just make sure you find it from a trusted person, a trusted site, a trusted organization. And what's a more trusted organization than the one that oversees all of the attorneys in your area?
Okay. So actually, there are two aspects of this question. The first one, from where to get it, and of course, online informations always not are much reliable, especially generated by AI. Of course, it need to be verified 2 or 3 places. Only
Yes.
then you can trust, or just to have some reliable source kind of course. But you need help in something like in municipal law. You won't get something like international organizations website and to get the information. You need to just go on local government's website where you can get it. But for the person who has not the legal background, it is very easy. They can get mesmerized, they can lost somewhere to understand what are the things that should understand. So my question behind this information is from where they can get such kind of legal awareness, legal literacy, so that they can just have some knowledge, so that after that, of course, wherever they need something like a major legal issue they are facing, of course, they can contact the attorney in their areas. But if they want that, what we are discussing, every professional should understand or must have some legal awareness kind of thing. So from where they can get such information? Is there any organization or something like that that can provide them a legal awareness? So these are the things that in day-to-day life you should understand.
So
So my
I don't
question is
know.
that.
Yeah, I don't know that there's like one answer to this,
Okay.
because it depends on what it is that they're looking for, right? If you want to know what the laws are in your city as far as walking on the street or walking on the sidewalk or parking, those are things that you're going to have to research and go to your city
Um,
and see what they are. If you want to know what the laws are, business that you want to open, you have to, again, go to the country, the state, the city, the county, right? There are so many different things that come into play. And so I think that your best bet when it comes to things that are not your day to day, when it comes to business, when it comes to criminal, when it comes to protecting your finances and your assets, find an attorney that you trust, that you can talk to. We're not all the same, right? We're all different people. And so the way attorneys practice law is also different. And so I always say, talk to a few attorneys, see if you align with them, see if you understand them, right? And then if you do, and you see that there's a connection, that's when you hire them, because it is too difficult to try to find things on your own, especially if you don't know. This is why we have to go to law school. This is why we have to take the bar exam. This is right. We learn how to research to find the answers. We learn how to solve those problems. And so if you want to do that yourself, it's going to be a lot more difficult because you don't have the training. Right. And I don't know that there could ever be a central place that everybody can go to find out about the law, just because there are so many, there's so much. In the US, we have our statutes, we have federal law, we have state laws, we have case law, and all of those play into each other. And so just
yeah.
because find one law that says something doesn't mean that that's actually what happens, right? There
Right.
might be other mitigating circumstances.
Right.
So yeah, I'm sorry I didn't quite answer your question.
Yes, no, true in some extent, of course, means that is, of course, a person cannot get help by himself or herself and by just knowing the law. But my question is simply that, of course, in India, even there is not such a law firm or something like that where you can get the legal awareness program. I'm talking about not a particular legal issue that you have, rather general, that the heading we have, the discussion point. Miss general question. General, I don't have any legal issue. Just I want to have legal awareness. So what are the things that I should understand? So that is the based on this, that this is why we have designed a certain kind of legal awareness program, of course. Yeah. So that no law firm supposed to be providing such a specific service for a common person. They don't have any issue. But to take precaution, to have some knowledge by themselves, right? So it's the awareness program, as we discussed, that the contract law, like tort law, these are the things that everyone should understand, the fundamental rights that everyone should understand. Apart from that, depending upon your specific profession, like a sports person, medical, business person, so then we need a tailored kind of legal awareness program that can benefit particular group of people they are practicing basically. So of course, the legal practitioner, they do not provide such kind of service because they don't have the time. And from where they can get, either they can go legal law schools to get all the things. It's not feasible. So this is the reason that we just have this discussion. So we are just providing certain kind of information. Some legal awareness program is basically specifically designed for profession specific, for HR, like human resource people. Every corporate has this department, human resource. So what are the laws? Basically, human HR people, they are dealing with the people, isn't it? Employees or different people, the clients and all. So they, of course, need to understand laws. There are different laws. They need to understand. So we have designed certain courses for HR, even for educators, because educators, they deal with the children, right? They deal with the people, adult students, so they need to understand. And there are certain points in India, I don't know about US, but in India there are certain laws that something like, it's not being a educator, you are not only an employee, but also you need to take care of the students that you are teaching, right? So what are their rights? You need to understand. Accordingly, you can perform, isn't it? So
Yes.
there are certain things that we have designed, profession specific. So we are doing that.
Oh,
So
that is
that
fantastic.
and that I also wanted to know, what about, is there anything like that in US?
There's not really, there are like for HR professionals, there are HR associations that you can join that will have resources for you that can help you kind of find different things. A lot of law firms and attorneys will put educational materials on their websites and things of that nature. I don't know that there are programs in the US for legal literacy.
Okay, so we have, I believe that we have discussed all the points related to this topic. If you have something, you want to add something from your side, please, you can add.
I just want to say thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun. I think there's a lot of good information that we talked about today that people will find valuable. And, when in doubt, call an attorney, get a free consultation.
Right. So thank you so much, just sharing your time with us. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Bye. Take care.